Okay, I want to find a regression line that best fits this data and graph along with the scatter plot of the data. So this data is measuring the amount of carbon dioxide in the atmosphere, measured in parts per million. It's comparing that to the average surface temperature of the globe, or the average global temperature for these 6 years. So I'm going to go into the calculator, and under the stat key, I'm going to edit my list, and I already put the data in my list. So L1 and L2 are my lists of data. I just plugged those in from the table that was given. So now I'm going to go and calculate. So under the stat key and calculate, I'm going to calculate the linear regression, and that's 4. So what it's doing here is I want to tell it what list the data is in. So second L1, and then comma second L2, and then comma, and then I like to put the regression line right into the function for the graph. So I'm going to let y1, I'm going to tell it to store it in y1. So under variables and then y variables, the first option there is function. I'm going to hit enter, and then here's where I can get y1. So it's going to build a linear regression line from list 1 and list 2 and put the equation in y1. So when I hit enter here, it generates the regression line. And if we look under the function y equals, when it's graphing, it plugged that regression line in there already. Now I want to make sure my stat plot is on, and that's right above the y equals. So I'm going to do second stat plot, and my stat plot is on. I'm just going to hit enter and show you the options here. The first thing it wants you to do is either it's on or off, and then there's types of stat plot. So the first type that's highlighted is a scatter plot. The next type that's over here, the next type that's over here is a scatter plot that's connected. Then we have bar graphs and box and whisker plots and so on. So we're just going to do a stat plot. X list and Y list is L1 and L2, and then the mark on the bottom is just what they're going to mark with their data. And I'm just going to use the circle there. So I'm going to make sure that's on, and it is. So I'm just going to quit out of there, go back into Y equals, and then zoom stat. So before I do this, I want to make sure that the window sees all the data. So zoom stat is number 9. I'm just going to hit enter, and this should create a window that'll contain the data along with the regression line. Alright, when I go back, so we did find that we got the data and we fit it to a regression line, and then use the regression line to predict the average global temperature if the atmospheric carbon dioxide concentration doubles from its pre-industrial level of 280 parts per million. So when it does that, when it doubles, that means I want the average carbon dioxide level to be, let's see, if we double this, it would be 560. So we're just going to plug that into my function, and to do that with our calculator, I'm just going to go back to the home screen, and since my equation is in y1, I'm just going to grab y1 from the variables key, and then use function notation to plug in 560. So I think that's right. I'm just going to check again. Yes. Alright, so it's going to plug in 560 into the equation y1 and hit enter. So it looks like the average surface temperature will be about 61.0, and if we round to the nearest hundredth, 61.03 degrees. So back here, the average global temperature would be 61.03. So that's using the graphing calculator to build the regression line.